I was watching a movie. I've been watching a lot of good movies. Not a lot, but I've been watching some really good movies recently. And today I had some time. Well, yesterday and today I had some time to finish a movie called You People, and it was with Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy, Lauren London, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And man, if you get a chance to see this movie, I didn't even know about this movie to be honest with you. Uh, but I'm glad I came across it on Netflix and I checked it out because it has a lot to do with what's going on in today's society with regards to race relations and uh, interracial couples and the struggles that come with that. Not that there's never been struggles, but I just feel like those struggles are more amplified these days. And this movie pairs Lauren London with Jonah Hill, which is completely mind-boggling to me because you couldn't pair two different people or more two different people than those two. So, anyways, if you get to watch it, watch it. The other movie that I saw recently was called Origin, and that is an extremely powerful, powerful movie. So powerful that I'm probably going to go back and watch it a second time because there was just so much going on there. And there's a book for that movie as well. And it basically talks about the roots of racism and how a lot of us got it wrong. And it looks at racism from a completely different angle than I ever thought of looking at it. Uh, and the lady who travels the world to find the roots of racism, it may surprise you uh, how other countries handle racism, and the origin of racism may surprise you as well. This story is very deep. It's a very intense movie. If you're like me, I am very in tune with my emotions. This movie was a bit of an emotional roller coaster. So that's the origin. So it's Origin. Go see that. And You People is on Netflix. Origin is not on Netflix. It's I had to go see it at the movie theater. So check it out when you get a chance. And let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you guys. This is episode 139 of the Perfect Mess podcast. And I'm gonna keep it short today. Uh, we've been doing home church for a few weeks now, me and my sons. And a lot of you who are familiar with me and my situation, we're in between churches now. We have decided to um, step away from the church that we were previously at. And we checked out another church. Wasn't really ready to go find another building, so we stepped away. We were doing small groups for a little while, and then that kind of fizzled out. And so I asked God to give me the strength and the courage to uh, dig into the Word and help my kids and teach my kids the Word every Sunday, and to basically grab the reins on that so we don't skip a beat. And I am very thankful that God has given me the way because I have never done something like this, and I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job, and I'm pretty proud of myself. So, I want to talk to you guys about free will very briefly today. Free will and God's will came up in our lesson today when I was talking to my sons. And, you know, we were reading in the word where, a lot of, people had said they didn't believe in God. And they said the typical thing, like, if there was a God, why would God allow such terrible things to happen? Now, this was part of the passage we were reading today. And it got me to talking to my kids and telling them, you're going to come across people who are going to grab your book and say, "You still believe in this book of fairy tales, this book of stories that just sound completely unbelievable? You're gonna You're going to believe in that? How do you believe in something you can't see? And more importantly, if your God was real and he's a merciful God, like you say, how does he allow bad things to happen? How does he allow kids to be murdered? How does he allow kids to be molested and raped, trafficked? How does he allow, people to get cancer? How does he allow 9/11 to happen? If your God is so powerful and he's real, why does he allow all these bad things to happen? And I told my kids, that's going to be a question you're going to be confronted with. And my son said, well, how do we answer that? And I said, it's not that God allows things to happen. It's not that God can't stop these things to happen or God lets these things happen. God gives us free will. And when I said this, I asked my son to look up free will. So when we do our Bible study for Sunday church at home, it's very interactive and I always tell them, look up this, look up that. I want you to to understand what we're going through and what we're reading. So they'll look it up as we're going through it. And free will, here's the definition that my son read. The power of acting without the constraint of necessity or fate. The ability to act at one's own discretion. So then my son says, what's discretion? I said, it's your decision. Is basically, I go, remember when you go to a movie theater and they say, hey, you know, parents bring your kids to watch a certain movie at your own discretion. Basically, I'm deciding whether I want you to see this movie or not. It could be a bad movie, it could be good, it could be rated, but I'm deciding that you're old enough and you're mature enough to see this movie. So it's at my discretion, right? And they said, okay, I understand that. So now that we know the definition of free will, this is what God gives us, okay? God gives us, everybody is blessed with some sort of talent or the ability to become proficient in a skill, okay? God blesses us with that. Now, if God has given you a special talent or an ability or something that is unique to you, or maybe it's something that is a lot of people can do and you were just blessed with the knowledge to go out and get it and learn it as well and become very good at it, okay? Now gives you that. He gives you the free will, the option to use whatever that is. You define what that is for you if you're listening or watching. Whatever that is, he gives you the free will to use it for good or for bad. That's what he does. He gives you the free will to do what you will with that gift, that blessing at your own discretion. Doesn't mean you can't be punished for it when it's all said and done if you make the wrong decision, but he gives you the free will. See, and a lot of people don't understand that. So I'm telling my sons, I said, people don't understand. They think that because bad things happen, God's not real because he doesn't stop. God is not going to stop everything. God blesses us. Okay? He gives us all something. It is up to us to decide what we're going to do with it. I said, so my son said, okay, so we started talking about 9/11. I said, okay, case in point. Let's talk about the guys who took over the planes, right? Let's talk about those guys. They went to school to learn how to fly planes, right? You guys both studied 9/11 in school. They both had classes where they had lessons where they read and watched stuff on 9/11. I said, you guys found that out, right? That the guys that overtook the planes were skilled pilots. They actually went to school here in the United States to learn how to fly planes. You know that, right? He said, yes. I said, okay. I said, what is free will for those guys? What could they have done with that pilot license? And my son says, well, they could have got a job flying planes, making money, taking care of their families, and having a career. I said, exactly. Now you tell me what they decided to do and what their intentions were to do the entire time they were being taught how to fly a plane. They said their intentions were to do evil. I said, right. They never once had a desire to make this a career. They purely went to learn to fly planes so they could cause pain, suffering, and death. That was the only reason why they went to learn how to fly planes. Because it fell in line with the plan of we are going to overtake these planes and we are going to fly them into buildings. Free will. So if someone says, why would God allow that to happen? It's not that he allowed that to happen. He gave these guys the ability to learn how to fly, to do something amazing like fly a plane. What they chose to do with that lesson, that gift, that skill, was to use it for evil. Now, on their day of judgment, what do you think is going to happen? They are going to have to answer for that. I know that's hard for most of us to grasp because we are still here on this world and we are still affected by the aftermath of what happened that day. But because they had free will and they chose to do something evil, on their judgment day, they will have to answer for that. Just like you and I are going to have to answer for everything we've done wrong in our life. And we've all done wrong stuff. We all have stuff in our closet that we just don't want to get out. Stuff that we've done in the past, stuff that we regret, stuff that we are so ashamed of. Maybe stuff you're doing right now. But we all have stuff we have to answer for. So I told my sons, when you are approached, and I promise you it's going to happen because I get it still to this day. I always tell this little quick sidebar, the story of a guy I used to do music with and tour with. Uh, I toured with him a couple of times when he found out I was, getting back into the word and I got back into church. He says, "Oh, you still believe in all those fairy tales?" And I said, "You mean the Bible?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Nobody believes that no more." He goes, "It's all fairy tales." And I kind of started talking to him a little bit about it, kind of giving him the word. He goes, "I ain't here for all that, dude." He goes, "Nah, I live in the real world. I don't believe in all that." I told my sons, I said, "You're going to encounter people like that. And there's two ways to answer that, okay? Two ways. One is, I know he's real because of what he's done in my life. And then you give them examples of what happened in your life, what happened in your father's life, and what happened in your family's lives once we gave ourselves to God, once we got baptized, and once we said, we are going to follow these guidelines to our life. We're not perfect. We're going to fumble. We're going to fall off. But we have certain guidelines that we are going to try to stick to for the rest of our lives. You tell them and give them examples of what God has done for your father, what God has done for you two, and what God has done for our family as a whole. Because it wasn't like that before we started our journey with God. And the other way to answer that is free will. It's not that God is not a merciful God. It's not that God can't stop. God can do all those things. But when God creates us and blesses us with something, he sits back and he allows us free will to do. what we will with the gifts he's given us. It is up to us to make the right decisions with those gifts, with those blessings. And we don't always make the right decisions. Sometimes we do some awful, awful things. You can scour the internet and you can see how terrible humans are to each other. Every day you hear stories of somebody using their free will to break down and destroy people or to hurt somebody or to hurt people. You can look at the shootings that just happened in Kansas City. You can look at the shooting that just happened in Texas at Olstein's church, and I'm not a big fan of Olstein at all. That's not somebody I like. I have my own opinion about these mega churches, but you can look at the shooting there. You can look at the shooting in Kansas City. You can look at so many things. Shoot, I just brought up a movie today. You People. That movie will disgust you in ways that will make your skin crawl because the conversations that were being had with regards to race, you look at it and you understand that we are so cruel to each other. We make life hard. Life's already hard, but then we do humans and people, we just do stupid shit. We treat each other like shit. We hurt each other for no reason, no good reason. We just hurt each other. We say mean things to each other. We do mean things to each other every day. And it's crazy that as I'm talking about this, I think about that movie because yeah, that's another example. When I was watching this movie, just and they were discussing and making comments about, because Jonah is Jewish and Lauren Hills is African American. Her family was super pro-black, super, and his family was super pro-Jewish, and they could not connect, and they were just so mean to each other. The dad was mean to Jonah. The mom was super awkward with Lauren London. And then they were just mean. They couldn't get on the same page. Each one of them treated their background as if it was the most important and the others wasn't. So they couldn't get on the same page. In the midst of two people who just loved each other, who didn't care what their skin color was or their background, they just loved each other. They fell in love with each other. It wasn't even planned. They met each other on a fluke and they fell in love with each other. And then you got families that are just can't get on the same page and damn near ruined this relationship. God gives all of us free will. And every day we wake up, we have a choice. What are you going to do with free will? What are you going to do with your free will? Are you going to do something that you kind of have to tuck in your back pocket and hope nobody finds out about? Or are you going to do something that you know is going to be good, that's going to be a blessing, not just to you, maybe your family, or maybe a stranger? We all have a choice. But remember, with that choice means when your day comes, and that day is inevitable, we are all going to end up taking the long dirt nap at some point. All of us. But when that day comes, and I firmly believe there will be a judgment day for all of us, you have to be willing, not even willing, you don't even have a choice. You have to understand and know that whatever you did with God's free will, you will be accountable for. So the people that you think that got away with doing these evil things, the people that traffic kids, that hurt kids, the people that shoot innocent people and do mass shootings, the people that commit acts of terrorism, the people that kill people over race, they do not get away with it. They may get away with it at some point here in the world, but at some point they have to answer for that. I firmly believe that. And you're talking to somebody who catches news clips and reads stories that I am fuming when I hear stories about people hurting kids and whatnot. Like I physically want to hurt somebody, but I know that their day is coming. I know that that is God's plan. That is God's job. It's not mine. And judgment is coming for them. Free will. So if you find yourself in a situation where someone is telling you, you know, or asking you if there really is a God, this God that you're talking about, why does he allow these things to happen? Explain to them what free will is. Explain to them that God gives us all free will and break it down in detail to them. Now, they may still have their opinion, but you make sure when you answer confidently so they know, listen, I've been around the block with this. I've had this thing asked to me so many times. This is the answer to your question. Now you can choose to not believe. That's totally up to you. But here's the thing, and I'm sure you've heard this before. Would you rather not believe and just live your life and then die and find out that you were wrong for not believing and go to hell? Or would you rather live your life believing, live a good life by certain guidelines to the best of your ability, and when you're done, you find out you were right? I would rather find out I was right. And even if I was wrong, at least I lived a good life and I lived a good life by guidelines. Because at the very least, the guidelines set forth by the Lord and the Bible will help you live a good life and help you be a good person. And what's the problem in that? I think for the most part, most people want to be good people. I do think there are evil people, but I still think overwhelmingly there are great people in this world that just want to live a good life. That's all I got, guys. Free will. That's what me and my kids talked about today at home church. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's short, to the point. Um, I appreciate you guys. I thank you guys so much. And like always, uh, you can check out my website. It's raymolina.com. Bookmark it. There are the podcast recordings are there. There's a online shop there. My blogs are there, my writings, my book reviews are there. And what else? You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Actually, you can look right over my shoulder up there on if you're on YouTube, and you can follow the Perfect Mess Pod, and you can follow me personally at It's Ray Molina. All right, that's both Instagram and TikTok. YouTube, youtube.com/slash the perfect mess pod. And please hit subscribe and the notification bell so you get all notifications for any videos that I put up. I put up a lot of videos, and the YouTube is growing, and I really appreciate you. I think I said this last podcast, man. We're up over 2,000% now on views on our shorts, and I think we're at 101 subscribers now. May not be a lot to some people listening, but it's a lot from where I came from. So it's growing. I have another channel that is strictly music that is, I think, almost 1,000 followers that I don't even touch. So I am familiar with how to grow a YouTube, and hopefully everything that I've been doing is going to continue to help that rise because it looks like it is going to. And I owe that to you guys. I owe that to all you guys who listen and share the podcast. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please continue to share the podcast. This thing doesn't grow without you guys. All right. Um, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, share it, leave a comment, review, rate the podcast, and follow me on Spotify and Apple. All right. That's all I got. Like I always say, my life isn't perfect. Oftentimes it is a mess, but for me, it is the perfect mess. Peace.